Man sentenced to 40 years in prison for breaking into rappers Bun B's home. One of my favorite rappers from the South, from UGK, Bun B. I honestly never even knew what happened to him and his wife, how this man broke into their house and pointed a gun in his wife's head and fired at Bun B. I never even heard any of this, and I'm a huge Bun B fan. So when this came across my feed, I was like, yeah, I have to definitely check this out because this happened in Harris County, one of liberal Harris County, where I am, and I never even knew this happened. Where the liberal judge ended up letting this guy out after he committed these heinous crimes, which is just crazy, off of deferment and stuff, where he went out and committed even more crimes. Like, these leftists are destroying our cities, and this is proof of that. And it took 5 years for Bun B and his wife to finally get justice. So we're going to play this news clip from the local Fox News here. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out, so we can get this information out there and show how these leftists are destroying our cities and allowing criminals to terrorize our towns and cities. Also hit that like button, like, share, subscribe, and check out my Patreon. It's where I talk about things that I can't talk about here. So let's just go ahead and play this clip here. Let me put on my headphones.
Welcome back to The Factor Uncensored, a follow-up to a story we have been reporting on since 2019. That's 5 years. A man named DeMonte Jackson broke into rapper Bun B's home. He has been sentenced today to 40 years in prison, 4 decades. As we've reported, Bun gave some emotional testimony on the stand yesterday, recounting the trauma his wife Queenie felt about Jackson putting a gun to her face. I spoke with Bun's attorney, Charles Adams. He says he believes the couple finally received justice today. It took 5 years to get a conclusion to this case.
Yes, sir. It was very unusual, right? He pled guilty years ago, right, to a judge that's no longer on the bench, a judge that was even too liberal for the incredibly liberal Harris County sensibilities, decided after he pled guilty to give him a bond so he could show him if he was going to behave well enough to be on deferred adjudication. Deferred adjudication probation for forcing his way into a woman's house and putting a gun on her forehead, threatening her life, and shooting at her husband. Absolutely.
Why would you defer a criminal like that? Why? I understand if it was like a shoplifter, young shoplifter that you're trying to rehabilitate or something like that, but someone that commit a heinous, violent crime like this, you're going to do deferred adjudication for that? I mean, these leftists, again, they are destroying our culture. They are destroying our cities, our towns. It's just evil. And I'm glad this judge no longer sits.
Disgusting. And what did this criminal do? He went out and he got charged with 3 federal felonies, including stealing a mail truck and driving onto an airport tarmac.
While he's in this deferred program, he's committing these other crimes. Who couldn't see that happening?
Went to federal prison.
And this is before this case is over.
This is before this case is over, while he was on that bond. Then he gets sent back here. We heard testimony in this hearing that he was bullying older inmates at the Harris County Jail, stealing people's commissary, threatening people, assaulting people, throwing bottles at guards, had to get moved from tank to tank to tank because he was a de facto tank boss. In his pre-sentence investigation, denied putting that gun to Queenie Freeman's head, claimed that he thought it was a vacant house when they got video from their doorbell camera of him forcing himself in. And Judge Warren listened to all this. He listened to a defense counsel argue that it wasn't really him. It was mental illness. It was drug addiction. His parents talked about how he struggled, but then admitted that he was a football star, that he had 2 cars and a moped, that he had a pretty nice life, that he went to junior college with the intent of playing football and decided to throw it all away and almost took the life of one of my closest friends doing it. Judge Warren listened to 2 days of that nonsense and gave him 40 years in prison.
When you had an opportunity to see and witness and be there with your friends, Queenie and Bun B, and see Bun B, break down on the stand and just what Queenie had to go through over the last 5 years dealing with this. What was that like for you as a friend seeing all of
Well,
this?
it was incredibly powerful, right? I have not seen Bernard. We spent a lot of time together. I've never seen him cry, right? I've never seen him show that level of emotion. And it was all born from a space of frustration because he talked about how his wife's anxiety just took hold of them. She never went back in that house the next day. She left, never turned around. That was their home that they loved. It took so much from her. And as a husband, he didn't feel like he could fix it. And that led to a lot of frustration for him and just real sincere agony and anguish. And I mean, he did a great job with his testimony, but it's because he was telling the truth. And I think anyone that saw it, I mean, I'm going to be honest, there's tears running down my face, and I don't like to cry either, right? I think the rule is you only cry if something happens to your mama or your dog, right? That's about it. But it was amazing. But when Queen got on the stand, the courage that she showed, right? In fact, the defendant left the room while she was testifying to go watch it by Zoom, but that was at the request of defense counsel, trying, in my opinion, to mitigate her emotion by manipulating the situation. It didn't work. She held strong. She gave her testimony. She clearly conveyed to the judge how this impacted her life and every horrible detail, how she was struggling to save her husband's life by begging him not to come downstairs, and that he still did it nonetheless because he was going down there to try to save his wife's life. It shows you a beautiful relationship, and I thank God they got the justice they deserved, Isaiah.
And when you look at the sentence of 40 years, do you think that's enough? That's appropriate for this crime?
I think it's appropriate. In Harris County right now, you're seeing people commit murder and get half that time. So this was so important to the DA's office. They assigned a felony division chief, Tiffany Dupree, along with the courtroom prosecutor, Morgan Klein. And those were two of the finest prosecutors I've ever seen practicing law in my life. They both did an amazing job. They built an excellent case. They had an expert witness there to push back on the nonsense that he was mentally ill, and that's the reason he did it. And it was just a great job by the Harris County DA's office, and I think it was a perfect sentence handed down by Judge Warren.
All right, Charles, thank you for joining us here on The Factor Uncensored.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Powerful stuff. But let me know what y'all think about this. Y'all think justice served? Leave your comments down below. Like, share, subscribe, and check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.